a CEO, a paralyzed child, a blind date that exploded with one brutal question. When Estelle Hayes walked into that Denver cafe with her wheelchair-bound son, she expected judgment, but not from the man she was supposed to fall for. His words sliced through the silence. "Why did you bring your paralyzed kid here?" The entire room gasped. Mothers covered their children's ears. Waitresses froze. But what happened next? It shattered everything Estelle thought she knew about love, shame, and second chances. "Why did you bring your paralyzed kid here?" The words detonated in the quiet cafe like a grenade. Estelle's hand froze on the handlebar of Arlo's wheelchair. Her heart stopped. Actually stopped. For 3 full seconds she couldn't breathe, couldn't blink, couldn't process what she'd just heard from Rowan Garrison's mouth. 6 weeks. 6 weeks of messages. Late-night conversations about books and terrible movies and what it felt like to parent alone. 6 weeks of thinking maybe, just maybe, this one would be different. She'd been wrong before. The cafe went silent. Not the comfortable silence of people enjoying their morning. The horrible, suffocating silence of witnesses to something ugly. A woman near the window clutched her pearls. An elderly man shook his head in disgust. The barista's hand froze mid-pour coffee overflowing onto the counter. She didn't notice. Estelle's vision tunneled. Her ears rang. Heat flooded her face, that familiar burning shame she'd fought so hard to kill. The same shame that had kept her isolated for 5 years. Since the accident. Since Arlo's legs stopped working. Since her husband walked out 3 months later with a suitcase and excuses about not signing up for this. Her throat closed. Her eyes burned. Not here. Not now. Not in front of her son. She looked down at Arlo. 11 years old, dark curls falling over his forehead, his eyes closed in sleep. His small body slumped slightly in the specialized wheelchair that had cost her $40,000 and 3 months of fighting with insurance companies. He was exhausted from physical therapy that morning. 2 hours of exercises that made him cry. She'd thought bringing him was honest. Brave. This is my life, take it or leave it. Rowan was choosing leave it. Her hands gripped the wheelchair handles until her knuckles went white. She opened her mouth. 5 years of fury and heartbreak and middle-of-the-night panic attacks gathered in her chest, ready to explode. But before she could form words, Rowan's face changed. His expression softened. The hard lines around his mouth disappeared. His eyes crinkled at the corners. And he smiled. Not a smirk. Not a cruel twist of the lips. A genuine, warm, devastating smile that reached his eyes and transformed his entire face. "Because if I'd known," he said quietly, his voice carrying across the silent cafe, "I would have brought my daughter too. She uses a wheelchair sometimes. I think they would have gotten along." The cafe exhaled, collectively, audibly. Estelle blinked. Her brain stuttered, trying to process the whiplash. "What?" The word came out hoarse, broken, barely a whisper. Rowan stood from his table. He was tall, broader-shouldered than his photos suggested, wearing a faded Colorado Rockies t-shirt and jeans with a small stain on the knee. Not the polished corporate version from his profile. Real. Lived in. Human. He walked toward her, hands in his pockets, expression apologetic but also amused, as if he knew exactly what bomb he'd just dropped. "I'm sorry," he said, stopping a respectful distance away. "That came out wrong. I didn't mean it the way it sounded." A strangled laugh escaped Estelle's throat. Hysteria, probably. Shock. Relief. She didn't know anymore. "You..." She shook her head. Words wouldn't come. Her body was still in fight or flight mode, adrenaline screaming through her veins. "I know what I said. I know how it sounded." He glanced around at the still staring patrons. His voice rose slightly. "Everyone can stop looking now. Show's over. Crisis averted. Go back to your overpriced lattes." A few people had the decency to look embarrassed and return to their drinks. Others kept staring. Judging. Always judging. Rowan looked back at Estelle, and his eyes were kind. Genuinely, deeply kind. The kind of eyes that had seen suffering and come out the other side without becoming bitter. My daughter Juniper, he said. She's 7. She had spinal surgery 2 years ago. She can walk now most of the time, but she still uses a wheelchair when she's tired or in pain or when her body just says no. He paused. When I saw your profile, when I read your post about Arlo, about his accident, about how you're both navigating this together, I thought, here's someone who gets it. Someone who won't look at my daughter and see a tragedy. Someone who sees the kid first. Estelle's anger crumbled, just dissolved into nothing, leaving her hollow and confused. But your profile, she said weakly. You never mentioned... I know. I'm careful. Strategic maybe. People make assumptions. They pity June before they meet her. They talk to her in baby voices like she's fragile, like she might shatter if they breathe wrong. His jaw tightened, muscle jumping. I hate it. She hates it more. So I usually wait. See who's worth trusting. But you knew about Arlo. You put it in your profile. First sentence. Single mom to an incredible kid who happens to use a wheelchair. I appreciated that. The honesty. The refusal to hide. Estelle felt her legs wobble. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her shaky and uncertain and angry at herself for being uncertain. Rowan seemed to notice. He gestured to his table. Do you want to sit, or... He glanced around the cafe at the lingering stares, the whispered conversations happening behind hands. We could get out of here. Go somewhere less judgy. Somewhere your son won't wake up to a room full of assholes. Despite everything, Estelle almost smiled. You have somewhere in mind. Always. But before they could move, a woman approached. Mid-50s expensive coat designer handbag expression, tight with manufactured concern. Excuse me, the woman said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. I couldn't help but overhear. I just want you to know that I think it's wonderful what you're doing for that child. Truly wonderful. My sister's friend's daughter has a special needs son, and I know how difficult it must be. You're so brave, so selfless. Estelle's spine stiffened. Here it was, the pity. The condescension wrapped in compliments. The assumption that her life was a tragedy, that her son was a burden she was heroically shouldering instead of walking away. Thank you, she said tightly, the words tasting like poison. But he's not special needs. He's paralyzed. And he's not difficult. He's my son. That's all. The woman blinked, taken aback. Oh, I didn't mean to offend. I was just trying to be supportive. Were you? Rowan interjected smoothly, stepping slightly between them. His voice was pleasant, conversational, but his eyes were steel. Because it sounded a lot like you were congratulating her for not abandoning her child. Which is a pretty low bar for parenting, don't you think? The woman's mouth opened and closed, her face flushed red. I was being kind. No, Rowan said quietly. You were making yourself feel better. There's a difference. The woman's eyes narrowed. And who are you exactly? Someone who's heard that exact speech about 50 times. It doesn't get better with repetition. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Maybe try actual kindness next time. Mind your business. Don't treat disabled kids like inspiration porn. Revolutionary concepts, I know. The woman's flush deepened to purple. She turned on her heel and marched back to her table, muttering something about millennials and respect. Estelle stared at Rowan. Her heart was pounding again, but for different reasons now. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did. He met her eyes. People say stupid things. They don't mean harm usually, but they don't think about how their words land. How many times you've heard the same condescending garbage. How exhausting it is to smile and nod and pretend it's okay when it's not. He exhaled slowly. I've gotten good at shutting it down before June hears it. Before it gets under her skin. Something in Estelle's chest loosened. Warmed. This man understood. He actually genuinely understood. Arlo stirred in his wheelchair, his eyes fluttering open. He blinked up at his mother, confused and disoriented. Mom, where are we? At the cafe, baby. Remember I told you I had someone to meet? Arlo looked around, his gaze landing on Rowan. He studied him with the brutal honesty of children who haven't learned to hide their thoughts. Is that him? Yeah, that's Rowan. Arlo's assessment continued. You're taller than your picture. Rowan grinned. Good camera angles, filters, strategic cropping. I'm actually a hobbit in real life. Arlo's face split into a smile. The first real smile Estelle had seen all week. Hobbits are cool. Right, underrated. Best meal schedule of any fantasy race. 7 meals a day. Living the dream. Arlo giggled. Actually giggled. The sound pierced Estelle's heart. She watched them, this stranger crouching down to her son's level, making himself smaller, less intimidating. Making Arlo feel seen, not pitied, not coddled, seen. Rowan looked up at her. So, what do you say? Want to bail on this place? There's a food truck festival about 10 minutes away. Fully wheelchair accessible. Great tacos, loud music, zero judgmental stares. I go there with June every weekend. Estelle hesitated. Every instinct screamed caution. She'd been burned before. By her ex-husband, who'd called Arlo's care exhausting and left her sobbing on the bathroom floor at 2 in the morning. By friends who disappeared when picking up Arlo from therapy became inconvenient. By dates who smiled politely through dinner and then blocked her number. But Rowan's eyes were steady, patient, not pushing, just offering. Mom, Arlo said quietly, I'm hungry. That decided it. Tacos sound good, she heard herself say. Rowan's face transformed with relief. Yeah, okay. Good. Great. My truck's in the lot. I can meet you there if you drove separately. We took a ride share. Then ride with me. I've got plenty of room. They left the cafe together. Estelle didn't look back at the staring patrons. Didn't care what they thought. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar uncurling in her chest. Hope. Rowan's truck was an older model Ford, clean but lived in. A booster seat in the back. A Spider-Man backpack on the floor. A stack of medical appointment cards in the cup holder. He helped load Arlo's wheelchair into the bed with practiced efficiency. No awkward fumbling. No asking stupid questions about how it worked. He just did it. You've done this before, Estelle observed. About 1,000 times. He secured the chair with bungee cords. June's is lighter than Arlo's, but same principle. They drove through Denver's streets. Morning traffic was light. Rowan drove carefully, no sudden stops, mindful of Arlo in the back seat. So, he said after a few minutes of comfortable silence. Your profile said you're a CEO. Tech company. Software development. Cloud-based solutions for healthcare systems. She glanced at him. You're an engineer. Structural. I design bridges. Make sure they don't fall down. Boring, but stable. Doesn't sound boring. It has its moments. Mostly spreadsheets and bureaucracy. Occasionally someone threatens to sue because they don't understand physics. He smiled. But I work from home most days. Flexible schedule. Important when you're a single parent. How long has it been? Since your wife? 3 years. Cancer. Started in her pancreas, spread everywhere. 6 months from diagnosis to... He stopped. Exhaled. June was 4. She doesn't remember much. Sometimes I don't know if that's a blessing or if I'm stealing her mother from her by being the only one who remembers. Estelle's throat tightened. I'm sorry, I can't imagine. You lose your husband too, though. Different way maybe, but loss is loss. He left. Wasn't strong enough to handle Arlo's new reality. Said he married me expecting a normal family. The bitterness in her voice surprised her. She thought she'd processed this, moved on. Apparently not. He signed away his parental rights 6 months after the accident. Haven't heard from him since. Rowan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. What a coward. Yeah. Arlo, no. I told him his dad loves him but couldn't stay. That some people aren't built for hard things. She glanced back at her son, who was staring out the window lost in his own thoughts. I don't know if that was the right thing to say. I just didn't want him to think it was his fault. It wasn't the wrong thing. Kids need to know they're not responsible for adult failures. They pulled into the food truck festival lot. Music drifted from the main area. The smell of grilled meat and spices filled the air. Families sprawled on blankets. Kids ran between trucks laughing and shouting. And crucially, not a single person was staring. See? Rowan said as he helped unload Arlo's wheelchair. Told you, 0 stares. Everyone here is too busy eating their weight in fried food to care about anything else. Estelle felt her shoulders drop, tension bleeding out. How did you find this place? June loves it. We come every Saturday. Rain or shine. It's become our thing. He locked the truck. The paths are all paved, wide enough for 2 wheelchairs side by side. Half the vendors have lowered counters. The organizers actually thought about accessibility instead of treating it as an afterthought. They navigated the festival slowly. Arlo's head swiveled, taking in everything. The colors, the sounds, the normalcy. Rowan stopped at a taco truck with a hand-painted sign advertising carne asada. This one's the best. Trust me, I've done extensive research. Extensive research. Estelle raised an eyebrow. I've eaten here 12 weeks in a row. That's science. They ordered food. Rowan insisted on paying. When Estelle protested, he just shook his head. First date rule. I invited you. I pay. You can get the next one if... He stopped. Sorry. Presumptuous. If you even want a next one after my stellar opening line. Estelle surprised herself by smiling. We'll see how the tacos are. They found a spot at a communal picnic table under a string of lights. Arlo attacked his tacos with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been promised vegetables for dinner and got dessert instead. Rowan watched him with amusement. Good. Arlo nodded, mouth too full to speak. So, Estelle said, picking at her own taco. Tell me about Juniper. Besides the wheelchair and the stubbornness. Rowan's expression softened the way it always did when someone mentioned his daughter. June's a hurricane. Small but devastating. She's got this personality that's way too big for her body. Fearless, funny. Stubborn doesn't even begin to cover it. Sounds familiar? Estelle said, glancing at Arlo. The tumor on her spine, the one that required surgery, they found it because she kept falling, just randomly losing her balance. We thought it was growing pains. Kids are clumsy, right? He exhaled slowly. Turned out there was a mass pressing on her spinal cord. Benign, thank God, but it had to come out. The surgery was... He stopped. Started again. The surgery was 8 hours. They told me there was a 70% chance she'd walk again. 30% chance of permanent paralysis. Estelle's chest tightened. That must have been terrifying. I sat in that waiting room and made bargains with God, with the universe, with anything that might be listening. I told myself if she lived, if she could just live, I didn't care about the rest. Walking. Not walking, it didn't matter. I just wanted my daughter. But she did walk. She did. After 6 months of physical therapy that made her scream, after crying herself to sleep because her legs wouldn't work the way she wanted them to, after watching other kids run and play while she sat on the sidelines. His voice roughened. But she fought. God, she fought so hard, and slowly, little by little, she got stronger. Does she still need the wheelchair? Some days. Bad pain days. Days when her body's tired of fighting. Days when she just wants to conserve energy for the things that matter more than walking. He met Estelle's eyes. We don't make her feel guilty about it. It's a tool. Like glasses or hearing aids. It helps her live her life. Estelle nodded, understanding flooding through her. Arlo's accident was different. More sudden. 1 second we were driving to his soccer game. The next drunk driver ran a red light. T-boned us on the passenger side. Arlo took the full impact. Rowan's jaw tightened. Jesus. He was in the ICU for 2 weeks. They didn't know if he'd survive. Then they didn't know if he'd breathe on his own. Then they didn't know if he'd ever wake up properly. She forced herself to continue. When he finally stabilized, they told me his spine was shattered at T10. Complete paralysis from the waist down. Permanent. And your husband left after that. 3 months later, said he couldn't do it. Couldn't watch our son struggle. Couldn't handle the medical bills and the therapy appointments and the stares. She laughed bitterly. He said I was stronger than him, like that was a compliment, like strength was a choice and not survival. Rowan reached across the table. His hand covered hers, warm, solid, real. You are strong, he said quietly. But you shouldn't have had to be alone. Tears pricked Estelle's eyes. She blinked them back furiously. Sorry, I don't usually... Don't apologize. Never apologize for feeling things. Arlo interrupted, oblivious to the heavy moment. Mom, there's a basketball court. Can I go watch? Estelle looked over. A group of kids were playing pickup basketball, laughing. Normal. Sure, baby. Stay where I can see you. Arlo wheeled away, maneuvering around tables and people with practiced ease. Rowan watched him go. He's good with that chair. 5 years of practice. He hated it at first, fought every day, but his physical therapist told him the chair wasn't a prison. It was freedom. It let him go places his legs couldn't take him anymore. She smiled sadly. Once he reframed it that way, everything changed. Smart therapist. The best. She saved us both honestly. Taught me how to help him without hovering. How to let him struggle without abandoning him. How to... She stopped. Sorry, I'm oversharing. You're not. I asked. Rowan squeezed her hand once, then let go. This is the thing nobody tells you about becoming a single parent to a disabled kid. How isolating it is. How everyone has opinions but nobody actually helps. How dating becomes this minefield of disclosure and judgment. Yes, the word burst out of her. Yes, exactly. Everyone wants to tell you how inspirational you are, but nobody wants to actually be there. Or they want to fix your kid, like disability is a problem to be solved instead of just part of who they are. Or they treat you like a saint, like loving your own child is some kind of heroic act. Meanwhile, you're just trying to survive, to get through the next doctor's appointment, the next insurance denial, the next night of your kid crying because they're in pain and there's nothing you can do. They stared at each other across the picnic table, understanding flowing between them without words. I've never met someone who gets it, Estelle said softly. Not really. Me neither. The moment stretched, deepened. Something fragile and precious bloomed in the space between them. Then Arlo's voice cut through. Mom, that kid said I can't play because I'm in a wheelchair. Estelle's head snapped around. Arlo was near the basketball court, his face flushed with embarrassment and anger. A older boy, maybe 13, stood with his arms crossed, blocking the court entrance. Estelle was on her feet in seconds, Rowan right behind her. They reached Arlo quickly. The teenager looked defiant. I didn't mean anything by it. I just said he probably can't keep up. Based on what? Estelle's voice was ice. He's in a wheelchair. So basketball requires like running. Wheelchair basketball is an actual sport, Rowan said calmly. Paralympic level. These athletes are often better skilled than able-bodied players because they can't rely on their legs for balance. They have to be stronger, faster, more strategic. The teenager shifted uncomfortably. I didn't know that. Now you do. Rowan's voice was still pleasant but firm. So maybe think before you assume someone's limitations. The kid mumbled an apology and slunk away. Arlo's eyes were wet, but he wasn't crying. I wasn't even going to play. I just wanted to watch. Estelle crouched beside him. I know, baby. Why do people always assume? Because they're ignorant, Rowan said bluntly. He sat on the ground eye level with Arlo. Not stupid, not mean necessarily, just ignorant. They haven't learned better. And that's not your job to teach them, by the way. You don't owe anyone education or patience. Arlo wiped his eyes. June deals with this too. All the time. Drives her crazy. Drives me crazier. Rowan smiled. But you know what she does. She proves them wrong. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. She plays adaptive soccer, wheelchair basketball, swims, does all the things people assume she can't. I used to play soccer, Arlo said quietly. Before. I know. Your mom told me. I was good. I bet you were. Now I can't. Rowan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, can't play soccer the way you used to, but wheelchair soccer exists. Power soccer. Different rules, same passion. You might be even better at it because you know the game already. You understand positioning and strategy. Arlo looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. Really? Really. June's team is always looking for new players. If you're interested, I can connect you with the coach. Mom? Arlo turned to Estelle. She swallowed past the lump in her throat. If you want to try, we'll try. Arlo's smile was tremulous, but real. Okay. The moment broke. The heaviness lifted. They returned to their table. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The music shifted to something softer. The crowd thinned as families packed up to leave. Estelle realized she didn't want the day to end. Didn't want to return to her empty house, to the routines that had become survival mechanisms. She wanted to stay here in this bubble, where her son smiled, and a kind man understood without her having to explain. Hey, Rowan said, breaking into her thoughts. I know this is probably too soon and you can absolutely say no, but June has an adaptive sports thing next weekend. Wheelchair basketball. She's been practicing for months. Would you and Arlo want to come? I think he'd love it. And honestly, June could use some friends who get it. Estelle's first instinct was to say no. To protect herself. Protect Arlo. Keep their world small and safe, where no one could hurt them. But then she looked at her son. Ice cream smeared across his face from the cone Rowan had bought him. Eyes bright with something she hadn't seen in years, not just happiness, belonging. We'd love to, she said. Rowan's face lit up. Yeah, okay, great. I'll text you the details. You don't have my number. Then I should probably get it. He pulled out his phone, grinning. She rattled off her number. He typed it in. Hit save. Estelle Hayes. He read off the screen. Contact saved. Date 1 successful. Only went mildly disastrous at the beginning. Mildly is generous. I'm an optimist. They drove back to Estelle's apartment complex. Rowan helped unload Arlo's wheelchair again. Walked them to the lobby doors. Thank you, Estelle said. For today. For understanding. For just being you. Thank you for giving me a chance after I spectacularly botched the introduction. It was memorable. That's one word for it. Arlo tugged on Rowan's sleeve. Will I really meet June next week? Absolutely. She's going to love you. Promise. Promise. Inside the apartment, after Arlo was settled and fed and starting his evening routine, Estelle's phone buzzed. A text from Rowan. Made it home. June's already asking when she can meet Arlo. Apparently I talk too much about my dates. Estelle smiled and typed back. You told your 7-year-old about our date. She's my best friend. I tell her everything, within age-appropriate limits. That's sweet. That's survival. Single-parent life. Another message came through. For what it's worth, today was the best first date I've had in 3 years. Even with the rocky start. Maybe especially because of it. You didn't run. That means something. Estelle stared at the screen. Her thumbs hovered over the keyboard. Finally, she typed, I thought about running. For a second. But then you smiled and everything changed. Good thing I have a nice smile. Decent. I've seen better. Liar. She laughed out loud. Arlo called from his room. "Mom, you okay?" "Yeah, baby, I'm good." And for the first time in 5 years, she meant it. That night after Arlo was asleep, Estelle sat on her couch with a glass of wine and her phone. She scrolled through Rowan's messages from the past 6 weeks. All the late-night conversations, the silly memes, the deeper talks about parenting and loss and fear. She'd been so careful, so guarded, building walls to protect herself from more disappointment. But Rowan had somehow slipped through, not by pushing, not by making promises he couldn't keep, just by being honest, by showing up, by seeing her son as a person instead of a tragedy. Her phone buzzed again. Rowan. Random question. Does Arlo like space stuff? June's obsessed. Wants to be an astronaut who studies black holes. Figured if they're going to be friends, might as well weaponize their shared interests. Estelle typed quickly. He's obsessed, has a telescope, knows all the constellations, wants to be the first paralyzed astronaut. Then they're definitely going to be best friends. Probably. Fair warning though, June has no filter. She'll ask Arlo invasive medical questions within 5 minutes of meeting him. Arlo has no social awareness. He'll probably ask her to marry him. Deal. We'll officiate when they're old enough. Estelle laughed again. This felt easy, natural, like breathing after holding her breath for years. One more message came through. I'm really glad you didn't run today. She stared at the words, felt the truth of them settling into her bones. Me too, she typed back, and she meant it with every broken, healing piece of her heart. The week crawled by like molasses. Estelle caught herself checking her phone every 20 minutes, waiting for Rowan's texts that came with surprising regularity. Morning messages about coffee disasters, afternoon updates about work frustrations, evening check-ins about how Arlo's day went. It felt normal, dangerously normal. Wednesday night, her phone rang instead of buzzed. Rowan's name lit up the screen. "Hey!" She answered, slightly breathless. She'd been helping Arlo with homework and had sprinted to grab her phone. "Hey, bad time." "No, just fractions. The eternal enemy of fifth graders everywhere." Rowan laughed. "June's in second grade and already having existential crises about math. I'm not prepared for fractions." "No one is. It's a universal truth. Listen, I wanted to give you a heads up about Saturday. June's nervous." Estelle sat down on her couch, tucking her legs under her. "Nervous how?" "She wants to meet Arlo. She's excited about it, but she's also terrified he won't like her." He exhaled slowly. "She doesn't have a lot of friends. Kids can be cruel about the wheelchair thing, and she's learned to keep people at a distance. But when I told her about Arlo, about you, she lit up in a way I haven't seen in months." Estelle's chest tightened. "Arlo's the same. He's been talking about meeting June nonstop. Asked me 3 times today if Saturday was canceled. So they're both terrified of rejection from each other while simultaneously being desperate to be friends." "Sounds about right." "Kids are exhausting." "The absolute worst," Estelle agreed, smiling. "Best thing that ever happened to us, but exhausting." "Truth." There was a pause. Then Rowan's voice came through, quieter. "I'm nervous too, if I'm being honest." "About what?" "About you meeting June. About her liking you. About this whole thing imploding because I'm terrible at relationships and even worse at—" He stopped. "Sorry, oversharing." "No, keep going." Another pause. Longer this time. "My wife died 3 years ago. You know that. What I didn't mention is that I haven't dated anyone seriously since. A few coffee dates that went nowhere. One dinner that ended with the woman telling me she couldn't handle a child with medical needs. I stopped trying after that." Estelle's throat tightened. "Why'd you message me then?" "Because your profile was honest. Raw. You didn't hide Arlo or make excuses for him. You just said, 'This is my life. This is my son. We're a package deal.' And I thought if anyone's going to understand what it's like to be a single parent to a disabled kid, it's her." He laughed softly. Plus, you made a Lord of the Rings joke in your bio. That sealed it. The joke about second breakfast. That's the one. Estelle grinned. I'm full of nerd references. Fair warning. I'm counting on it. His voice warmed. I'm really glad we're doing this. Saturday. All of it. Even if I'm terrified. Me too. On both counts. They talked for another hour. About nothing important. About everything that mattered. Books they'd read. Movies they'd watched. The strange intimacy of late-night conversations when the world went quiet. When they finally hung up, Estelle sat in the dark living room, phone pressed to her chest, feeling something she'd forgotten existed. Anticipation. Hope. The terrifying possibility that maybe this time would be different. Saturday arrived with perfect weather. Clear skies. Mild temperature. The kind of day that felt engineered for new beginnings. Estelle spent an hour picking out clothes. Too casual made her look like she didn't care. Too dressy made her look desperate. She settled on jeans and a soft blue sweater that Arlo said made her eyes pretty. Arlo was ready an hour early. He'd insisted on wearing his favorite space shirt, the one with constellations mapped across the front. His hair was combed. His wheelchair was polished. You look handsome, Estelle told him. I'm nervous, he admitted. What if June thinks I'm weird? Then she has terrible taste and we'll find better friends. Mom? I'm serious. But she won't think you're weird. She's going to think you're great. Promise? Estelle crouched beside his chair. I can't promise that, baby. I can't control what other people think. But I can promise that you're exactly who you're supposed to be, and anyone who doesn't see that isn't worth your time. Arlo nodded, but his hands still twisted in his lap. The Adaptive Sports Center was in North Denver, a surprisingly modern facility with ramps and wide doors and equipment designed for accessibility. Parents gathered in clusters near the entrance. Kids warmed up on the court inside their wheelchairs, moving with practiced precision. Estelle spotted Rowan immediately. He stood near the door, hands in his pockets, scanning the parking lot. When he saw them, his face transformed with relief. You came, he said, walking over quickly. Of course we came. Why wouldn't we? I don't know, cold feet, change of heart, sudden realization that I'm actually terrible first date material. You're catastrophizing. It's a gift. A small voice interrupted. Dad, is that him? Estelle looked down. A little girl with wild blonde curls and enormous brown eyes stood beside Rowan. She wore a purple shirt with a rocket ship on it and light-up sneakers. No wheelchair in sight today. June, this is Estelle and Arlo, Rowan said gently. Estelle, Arlo, this is my daughter Juniper. June stared at Arlo with unabashed curiosity. You're the space kid Dad told me about. Arlo blinked. You're the robot surgery girl. It wasn't a robot. It was just regular surgery. But there were lots of machines, so kind of robot adjacent. June stepped closer. Do you have a wheelchair too? Yeah. Does it hurt your back? June? Rowan warned gently. It's okay, Arlo said. He looked at June seriously. Sometimes, mostly it's just numb. Like my legs are asleep, but they never wake up. June nodded solemnly. Mine hurt a lot after surgery. Now it only hurts when it rains or when I'm really tired. Dad says it's because my nerves are still figuring things out. Do you use your wheelchair a lot? Not anymore, but I keep it for bad days. Dad put stickers on it. Dinosaurs and planets. Mine has LED lights underneath, like a race car. June's eyes went wide. That's so cool. Can I see? Just like that, the tension broke. The kids wheeled away Arlo, showing off his chair's features while June peppered him with questions. Estelle watched them go, something warm and aching blooming in her chest. Well, Rowan said beside her, that went better than expected. She's wonderful. She's a menace. But yeah, wonderful covers it. He smiled. Want to grab coffee while they terrorize the other kids? The center had a small cafe overlooking the court. They ordered and settled at a table with a clear view of the kids. June and Arlo had joined a group doing warm-up drills. Arlo's face was flushed with concentration. June kept glancing over at him, saying something that made him laugh. "This is surreal," Estelle said softly. "Watching him with another kid who just gets it, who doesn't treat him different." June's been asking for a friend like Arlo since the surgery. Someone who understands without her having to explain. Rowan took a sip of his coffee. "I tried to connect her with other kids at the hospital, but most of them were younger, or their situations were so different. She felt isolated. Arlo, too. His old friends from before stopped calling. Their parents stopped arranging playdates. Everyone just kind of disappeared. People don't know how to handle disability, especially in kids. It scares them. It's not contagious. No, but discomfort is. And people would rather avoid discomfort than push through it." He set his cup down. "I'm sorry that happened to you both. Not your fault. Still sorry." They watched the kids in comfortable silence. The drills progressed. A coach demonstrated passing techniques. June copied the movements with fierce concentration. Arlo followed suit, his wheelchair movements becoming more confident. "Can I ask you something?" Rowan said after a while. "Sure. What made you start dating again after everything with your ex?" Estelle considered the question. "Loneliness mostly. I love Arlo more than anything, but being a single parent is isolating. I missed adult conversation. I missed feeling like a person instead of just a mom and a caretaker." She traced the rim of her coffee cup. "My therapist said I was allowed to want things for myself, that taking care of me was part of taking care of Arlo. So I tried." "How'd that go before we matched?" "Terribly." She laughed without humor. "First date, the guy asked if Arlo was normal otherwise. Second date never showed. Blocked my number. Third date went okay until I mentioned needing to leave early for Arlo's bedtime routine. The guy said I should get a babysitter if I wanted to date seriously." Rowan's jaw tightened. "What an asshole." "Yeah. I deleted the app after that. Figured I was done. Then my friend convinced me to try one more time. Said I deserved happiness. So I made a new profile, put Arlo front and center, and decided if someone couldn't handle my reality, they weren't worth my time. That's when we matched." "That's when we matched." She met his eyes. "I almost didn't message you. Your profile seemed too good to be true. Handsome, employed, good with kids. I figured you were catfishing or secretly married." Rowan burst out laughing. "I promise I'm real and very divorced from life with a partner." "I see that now. What made you take the chance?" "Your profile said you liked cooking but were terrible at it. That you once set off the smoke alarm making toast. Something about that felt honest, real, like you weren't trying to be perfect." "I am genuinely terrible at cooking. June survives on frozen pizzas and cereal. Arlo's diet is 60% chicken nuggets. See, we're perfect for each other." The words hung in the air. Too soon, too much. But also not wrong. Before either could respond, a commotion erupted on the court. Raised voices, kids gathering in a circle. Estelle was on her feet instantly, Rowan right behind her. They pushed through the crowd. In the center, June stood with her arms crossed, her face red with fury. A older boy, maybe 12, towered over her. Behind June, Arlo sat in his wheelchair, his expression stunned. "What's going on?" Rowan demanded. "He called Arlo a cripple," June announced loudly, her voice shaking with rage. "And he said mean things about his wheelchair." The older boy shifted uncomfortably. "I was just joking." "It's not funny," June shot back. "It's mean and stupid, and you should apologize." "June," Rowan said quietly, crouching beside her, "let me handle this." "No. He was mean to Arlo. That's not okay." "You're right. It's not okay. But I don't need anyone to fight my battles," Arlo said softly. His voice was quiet but steady. "I can handle it." Everyone turned to look at him. He wheeled forward slightly, meeting the older boy's eyes. "You don't know anything about me," Arlo said. "You don't know what happened to me. You don't know what I can do. You just see the chair and make assumptions." The boy's face flushed. "I said I was joking." "Jokes are supposed to be funny. That was just mean." Arlo's voice didn't waver. "My wheelchair doesn't make me less than you. It just makes me different. And if you can't understand that, that's your problem, not mine." The court went silent. Adults stared. Kids whispered. The coach appeared, assessing the situation quickly. "Apologize," the coach said flatly to the older boy. "Now." The boy mumbled something that might have been sorry. "Louder," the coach insisted. "I'm sorry," the boy said louder this time. "I shouldn't have said that." Arlo nodded once. "Okay." The crowd dispersed. The coach pulled the older boy aside for what looked like a serious conversation. Parents drifted back to their seats. June turned to Arlo, her eyes wide. "That was so brave." Arlo shrugged, but his hands were shaking slightly. He was being stupid. "Still, you stood up for yourself, that's cool. You stood up for me first. Because we're friends now. That's what friends do." Arlo's face split into a genuine smile. "Yeah, friends." June grabbed his hand. "Come on. I want to show you the passing drill coach taught me." They wheeled away together, the incident already forgotten. Estelle stood frozen, her heart hammering. Rowan touched her elbow gently. "You okay?" "He stood up for himself," she whispered. "Arlo. He's never done that before. He usually just shuts down when kids say things." Maybe he needed to see someone else do it first. June's not exactly subtle about defending people she cares about. They just met. Kids don't care about timelines. They just know what feels right. Estelle watched her son laughing with June, the two of them practicing drills like they'd been friends for years instead of minutes. "This is really happening," she said softly. "Isn't it? What is this? Us. Our kids becoming friends, all of it." Rowan moved closer. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Is that okay? That it's happening?" "I don't know. It's terrifying." "Good terrifying or bad terrifying?" "I don't know yet." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "For what it's worth, I'm terrified too. But I haven't felt this hopeful in years, so maybe terror and hope can coexist." Maybe. They stood together watching their children. Watching the impossible unfold in real time. Two broken families finding each other in the chaos. The session ended an hour later. June and Arlo were inseparable, talking over each other about space and wheelchairs and a million other things. "Can Arlo come over?" June begged. "Please, Dad. We can show him my telescope." Rowan looked at Estelle. "No pressure, but she does have a pretty good telescope. And I make decent hot chocolate. Well, I don't burn it usually." Estelle hesitated. Every instinct screamed to say no, to keep boundaries, to protect herself and Arlo from potential disappointment. But Arlo's face was so hopeful. And June's enthusiasm was infectious. And Rowan's eyes were kind. "Okay," she heard herself say. "But just for a little while." June cheered. Arlo grinned. Rowan's expression flooded with relief. They drove in separate cars to Rowan's house, a modest ranch-style home, with ramps leading to the front door and a wide driveway. Inside was lived-in chaos. Toys scattered across the living room. Medical supplies neatly organized in a corner. Photos covering the walls. Most featured June. A few showed a beautiful woman with blonde hair and June's smile. Rowan's late wife. Estelle's chest tightened seeing them. Evidence of a life before. A love that ended too soon. "Sorry about the mess," Rowan said, kicking aside a pile of stuffed animals. Cleaning happens in theory, not practice. It's perfect, Estelle said honestly. It felt like a home, like people actually lived here instead of just existing. June led Arlo to her room immediately. Their voices drifted down the hallway, excited and overlapping. Rowan gestured to the kitchen. Hot chocolate coffee. Something stronger. Hot chocolate sounds good. She followed him to the kitchen. He pulled out mugs and milk, moving around the space with comfortable efficiency. Your home is lovely, Estelle said. It's chaos, but it's ours. He poured milk into a pot. We moved here after June's surgery. Needed something single-story, wheelchair accessible, close to her doctors. It must have been hard, moving on top of everything else. It was necessary. Our old house had stairs. Too many memories of before. He stirred the milk slowly. Sometimes starting over is the only way to survive. Estelle understood that in her bones. The hot chocolate was actually good. They sat at the kitchen table listening to the kids laugh in the other room. Thank you, Estelle said softly. For today. For June. For giving Arlo something I couldn't give him. What's that? A friend who understands. Rowan met her eyes. Thank you for giving June the same thing. The moment stretched, deepened. Something fragile and precious bloomed between them. Then June's voice called out. Dad, can we watch Arlo's favorite space movie? Which one? Rowan called back. The Martian. That's like 2 hours long. Please. Rowan looked at Estelle. You okay staying longer? She should say no, should maintain boundaries, should protect her heart. Yeah, she said instead. We can stay. They moved to the living room. The kids sprawled on the floor sharing a blanket. Rowan and Estelle took the couch, a careful distance between them. The movie started. The kids provided running commentary. June asked a million questions. Arlo answered with patient enthusiasm. Halfway through, June's head drooped. She curled against Arlo's wheelchair, fast asleep. Arlo looked at Estelle with panic. She smiled and nodded. It's okay. The movie continued. Rowan shifted slightly closer on the couch. His arm rested near hers, not touching, but close enough. This is nice, he murmured. Yeah, Estelle whispered back. It really is. And sitting there in the dim living room, watching her son smile at a sleeping girl who'd defended him like a tiny warrior, Estelle felt something she hadn't felt in 5 years. She felt like maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. The movie ended with Matt Damon's character finally returning to Earth. Arlo whispered the final lines along with the screen, his face glowing in the television's light. June had woken up 20 minutes earlier, and now sat with her head tilted against Arlo's armrest, her eyes droopy but determined to stay awake. That's the best movie ever made, Arlo declared. Agreed, June said through a yawn. We should go to space together when we grow up. Deal. You have to promise though, pinky promise. We can't both reach, Arlo pointed out logically. June scrambled up and held out her pinky. Arlo linked his with hers, both of them grinning like they'd just signed a legally binding contract. Estelle glanced at her phone. 9:30, way past Arlo's usual bedtime. We should probably head home. No, Arlo said immediately. 5 more minutes. You said that an hour ago. This time I mean it. Rowan stood stretching. June, you need to let them go. It's late. But we didn't finish planning our rocket ship design. You can plan it next time, Rowan said gently. That's the good thing about friends. There's always a next time. June's face brightened. There's a next time. If Estelle and Arlo want there to be, Rowan said, looking at Estelle with a question in his eyes. There's definitely a next time, Estelle confirmed. Arlo fist pumped. June did a little dance that involved a lot of spinning and arm flailing. Getting out the door took another 15 minutes. June insisted on showing Arlo her rock collection. Then her drawings of space stations. Then the special nightlight that projected constellations on her ceiling. Finally, they made it to the driveway. The night air was cool. Stars scattered across the sky like someone had thrown diamonds. "Thank you for today," Estelle said to Rowan. "Really, this was everything," Rowan finished. "It was everything." Their eyes held. The moment stretched. Estelle felt the pull toward him magnetic and terrifying. "Text me when you get home safe," he asked. "That's very dad of you." "I'm a dad. It's my default setting." She smiled. "I'll text." The drive home was quiet. Arlo stared out the window, a small smile playing on his lips. "You had fun," Estelle observed. "June's really cool. She didn't treat me like I was fragile." "Most people do. Yeah, they're always worried I'll break or get sad, but June just acted normal, like my wheelchair was boring." He paused. "Is that weird to say? That I liked someone finding my wheelchair boring?" "Not weird at all, baby. It means she saw you first." "Yeah." His smile widened. "She saw me first." Back at their apartment, Estelle helped Arlo with his nighttime routine. Transfer to bed. Medication. The evening stretches his physical therapist insisted on. "Mom," Arlo said as she was tucking him in. "Yeah. Do you like Rowan?" Estelle's hands stilled. "I barely know him." "That's not what I asked." She sat on the edge of his bed. "Would it bother you if I did? Like him, I mean." Arlo was quiet for a long moment. "Dad left because of me. Because I got hurt and he couldn't handle it." "Baby, no, that wasn't... I know you say it wasn't my fault, but he left after the accident. Those things are connected." He picked at his blanket. "I don't want you to be alone forever because of me." Estelle's throat closed. Tears burned behind her eyes. "Arlo, listen to me. Your father left because he was weak, because he couldn't handle hard things. That has nothing to do with you and everything to do with him. But if I wasn't paralyzed, then he would have found another excuse, another hard thing he couldn't handle." She touched his face gently. "You are not the reason I've been alone. I've been alone because I haven't found anyone worth risking my heart for. Until maybe now." "So you do like Rowan?" She laughed wetly. "Yeah, I think I do." "Good. He's nice, and June's awesome, and they get it. They actually get it." "They do. So you should keep seeing him, even if it's scary." "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just haven't been paying attention." He grinned. "Also, if you marry Rowan June and I would be like siblings, that would be cool." "Slow down there, matchmaker. We've been on 2 dates." 2.5. The food truck counts as a half." "That's not how math works." "It's how my math works." She kissed his forehead. "Go to sleep. Dream about space. And rocket ships. And rocket ships." She was almost to the door when Arlo called out again. "Mom." "Yeah. I'm really glad we went today." "Me too, baby. Me too." Estelle texted Rowan from her bedroom. "Home safe. Arlo's already planning your wedding to me because it would make June his sister." The response came immediately. "June's already designing bridesmaid dresses. Apparently they need to be purple with rocket ships. Very specific vision. She's a woman who knows what she wants." Terrifying. "You have no idea." They texted for another hour. Silly things, deep things, the comfortable back and forth of people learning each other's rhythms. Finally, Rowan sent, "I should let you sleep, but I don't want to stop talking to you." Estelle stared at the message, her heart doing complicated things in her chest. "Then don't. Talk to me tomorrow, and the day after that." "Deal." "Good night, Estelle." "Good night, Rowan." She fell asleep with her phone on her pillow, smiling like a teenager. The next few weeks developed a rhythm. Rowan and Estelle texted constantly. Good morning messages, lunch break check-ins, evening conversations that stretched past midnight. They talked about everything and nothing, their childhoods, their fears, their dreams for their kids. Arlo and June became inseparable. Playdates happened twice a week, sometimes at Rowan's house, sometimes at Estelle's apartment. The kids built elaborate space stations out of cardboard boxes, designed rocket ships on graph paper, watched documentaries about Mars, and argued about which planet they'd colonize first. Estelle and Rowan stole moments when the kids were distracted. Coffee on the back porch, while June and Arlo raced wheelchairs in the driveway. Quiet conversations in the kitchen while preparing snacks. Hands brushing while reaching for the same thing. Eyes meeting across rooms with unspoken questions. It felt like falling. Slow and inevitable and terrifying. 3 weeks after that first adaptive sports day, Rowan asked Estelle on an actual date. Without kids, just adults. "My neighbor can watch June," he said over the phone. "She's great with her, former pediatric nurse. June loves her." "I'd need to find someone for Arlo." "What about your friend, the one who convinced you to try dating again?" "Maya, I could ask her." "So is that a yes?" Estelle's stomach flipped. A real date. No kids as buffers. Just them. "Yes, that's a yes." "Friday night. There's this Italian place downtown. Supposed to be good. Or we could do something else. I'm flexible. Whatever you want." "Italian sounds perfect." She heard his exhale of relief. "Okay. Good. Great. I'll pick you up at 7. Friday arrived too fast and too slow simultaneously. Estelle changed outfits 4 times. Maya showed up early, took one look at her, and physically removed her from the closet. "You're spiraling," Maya announced. "Stop it." "I don't know what to wear." "You're a CEO. You negotiate million-dollar contracts. You can handle picking a dress." "That's different. Contracts don't judge me." "Rowan isn't going to judge you. He's seen you covered in juice box spillage and still looks at you like you hung the moon." Maya pulled out a deep green dress from the back of the closet. "This one. It's perfect." "It's too much." "It's exactly enough. Put it on before I call off this date myself." Estelle changed. The dress fit perfectly. Made her feel feminine and powerful, and nervous all at once. Arlo wheeled into her room, stopped short, and stared. "Whoa, Mom, you look really pretty." "Thanks, baby." "Rowan's going to freak out." Maya high-fived Arlo. "That's the goal." The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Estelle's heart jumped into her throat. "I'll get it," Maya said, already heading for the door. Estelle heard voices in the living room. Maya's teasing tone, Rowan's nervous laugh, then footsteps. Rowan appeared in the hallway and stopped dead. His eyes went wide. "Wow, you look wow." "Good wow or bad wow?" "Really good wow, like I forgot how to form sentences, wow." She smiled, some of her nervousness dissolving. "You clean up pretty nice yourself." He did. Dark jeans, button-down shirt, hair actually combed. He looked good. Really good. "You ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be." She kissed Arlo goodbye, gave Maya last-minute instructions that Maya waved off, and let Rowan lead her to his truck. The drive downtown was filled with comfortable chatter. Rowan told a story about June trying to build a robot out of kitchen appliances. Estelle shared about Arlo's latest astronomy obsession involving black holes and spaghettification. "I'm sorry, spaghetti what?" Rowan asked. "Spaghettification. It's what happens when you get pulled into a black hole. The gravitational force stretches you into long, thin shapes, like spaghetti." "That's horrifying and awesome." Arlo's exact reaction. The restaurant was small and intimate. Soft lighting, quiet music, white tablecloths. The hostess led them to a corner booth with surprising privacy. They ordered wine, studied menus, made small talk about food preferences. But once the waiter left, silence fell. Not uncomfortable exactly, but weighted. They'd talked for hours over text and phone calls. But this felt different. More real. More vulnerable. "I'm really nervous," Rowan admitted. "Is that weird to say?" "No, I'm terrified. Why? Estelle traced the rim of her wine glass. Because this is the first date in 5 years where I actually care if it goes well, where I actually hope there's a second one. That's terrifying. I'm scared I'll mess it up, Rowan said. Say something stupid. Do something awkward. Prove I'm not actually good at this. You're doing fine. We've been here 10 minutes and I've already spilled water on myself twice. She hadn't noticed. When? In the truck before coming in, and just now. Look. He gestured to a wet spot on his shirt. She laughed. Actually laughed. The tension broke. I'm a disaster, Rowan said, but he was smiling. June says I have 2 modes. Dad mode, where I'm competent and responsible, and human mode, where I'm a walking catastrophe. I like both modes. Yeah. Their food arrived. They ate and talked. Really talked. Not about their kids, about themselves, their jobs, their hobbies, the things they missed from before becoming single parents. I miss spontaneity, Estelle said. I used to travel. Just pack a bag and go. Now everything requires planning. Wheelchair-accessible hotels, medical equipment, backup medications. It's exhausting. I miss quiet, Rowan admitted. Just silence, no therapy schedules, no medication alarms, no constant vigilance to make sure June's okay. I love her desperately, but sometimes I fantasize about sitting in an empty room and just breathing. That's not terrible to admit. Feels terrible, like I'm a bad parent for wanting a break. You're human. Humans need breaks. That doesn't make you bad. He exhaled slowly. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for being honest. The waiter cleared their plates, offered dessert. They declined but ordered coffee. Can I ask you something? Rowan said once they were alone again. Sure. Do you ever regret it? Being Arlo's full-time caretaker, not pursuing other options? Estelle's first instinct was to deny. To say of course not. To insist she'd never trade Arlo for anything. But Rowan's eyes were open. Understanding, not judging. Sometimes, she said quietly. Not often. But sometimes I see other moms whose kids are healthy, whose biggest worry is homework or social drama. And I feel this flash of jealousy so sharp it takes my breath away. She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. Then I feel guilty for feeling jealous, like I'm betraying Arlo by wishing things were different. That doesn't mean you love him less. I know. Logically I know. But emotions aren't logical. No, they're really not. He was quiet for a moment. I regret things sometimes. Not June. Never June. But I regret that she had to go through so much pain. That I couldn't protect her from it. That her childhood has been hospitals and therapy instead of playground and sleepovers. She seems happy, though. She is, most days. But I see her watching other kids run, and I know she's thinking about before. About when her body did what she wanted it to. His voice roughened. And I can't fix it. I can't make it better. I can only be there and love her and hope that's enough. Estelle reached across the table, took his hand. His fingers closed around hers immediately. It's enough, she said firmly. You being there, loving her, showing up every day? That's everything. You too. What you do for Arlo, it's remarkable. It's survival. It's both. They sat like that, hands linked across the table, until the waiter discreetly cleared his throat with the check. Outside, the night was cool. They walked slowly to the truck, neither ready for the evening to end. Thank you for tonight, Rowan said. For being honest. For not pretending everything is perfect all the time. Thank you for understanding. For not making me feel guilty for being human. They reached the truck. Rowan opened her door but didn't step back. They stood close, the space between them charged with possibility. I really want to kiss you, Rowan said quietly. But I'm terrified I'll mess it up. You can't mess up a kiss. You haven't seen me try. She laughed. Then, before fear could stop her, she rose on her toes and kissed him. It was soft, sweet, perfect. His hands came up to cup her face gently. Her fingers curled into his shirt. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "See?" Estelle whispered. "Not messed up. I had good help." He kissed her again. Longer this time. Deeper. The world narrowed to just them, just this moment, just the terrifying, perfect feeling of falling. A car horn honked. They broke apart, laughing and breathless. "We should probably go," Rowan said, "before we scandalize the parking lot." "Probably." The drive back to her apartment was quiet but comfortable. Rowan's hand found hers on the console. She laced their fingers together. "I don't want this to end," he admitted. "It doesn't have to. What do we do now? We see where this goes. We take it slow. We figure it out together." He squeezed her hand. "I can do slow." "Can you?" "Probably not. But I'll try." At her door, he kissed her again. Soft and lingering. A promise of more to come. "Text me when you get home," she said. "Very mom of you." "I'm a mom. It's my default setting." He grinned. Kissed her forehead. "Good night, Estelle." "Good night, Rowan." Inside, Maya was asleep on the couch. Arlo was in bed. The apartment was quiet. Estelle leaned against the door, touching her lips, smiling like an idiot. Her phone buzzed. "Rowan. Home safe. Already miss you. June's demanding details tomorrow. Prepared to be interrogated by a 7-year-old. Estelle typed back. "Arlo's going to do the same. We should coordinate our stories." What story should we tell? The truth, that it was perfect. It really was. She went to bed happy, hopeful, terrified. All of it tangled together in a mess of emotions she was finally ready to feel. The next morning, Arlo was waiting for her at breakfast with an expectant expression. "Well?" he demanded. "Well, what? How was the date?" "It was nice." "Nice? That's all I get." "What do you want me to say? Did he kiss you?" "That's none of your business." Arlo's eyes lit up. "He did. You have the face. The I got kissed face." "I don't have a face." "You totally have a face. It's all dreamy and weird." Despite herself, Estelle smiled. "Okay, fine. Yes. He kissed me. Happy. Very. Does this mean you're boyfriend-girlfriend now?" "I don't think that's the terminology adults use." "But you're together. We're figuring it out." "That's adult speak for yes." Arlo wheeled closer. "I'm really happy for you, Mom. You deserve someone who makes you smile like that." Her eyes burned. "Thank you, baby. Just don't forget about me when you're making out with Rowan." "Oh my God, Arlo. What, I'm mature. I can handle it." "You're 11. 11 and wise beyond my years." She threw a dish towel at him. He caught it, laughing. Her phone rang. Rowan's name flashed on screen. "Answer it," Arlo said. "I'll give you privacy, but I expect full details later." "You're impossible. You love me anyway." "Unfortunately true." She answered the phone. "Hey." "Hey." Rowan's voice was warm, happy. "June has questions. Many questions. I've been interrogated for 20 minutes. Arlo too. Apparently I have a face." "What kind of face?" "A dreamy, weird face." His words. Rowan laughed. "June said I've been smiling at my phone like a lovesick teenager." Also her words. "Kids are observant." "Annoyingly so." He paused. "So I was thinking, the kids want to do something today, together. And I thought maybe we could make it a thing, the 4 of us, if you're interested." "What kind of thing?" "Picnic, park, nothing fancy, just us hanging out." "That sounds perfect." Yeah. Yeah, 2 hours later, they met at a park with wide paved paths and open fields. June and Arlo immediately claimed a spot under a tree and started building something elaborate with sticks. Rowan spread out a blanket, unpacked sandwiches and fruit and chips. "You made all this?" Estelle asked, impressed. "I made the sandwiches. Everything else came pre-made. I'm not that ambitious." They ate and watched the kids play. The sun was warm. The breeze was gentle. Everything felt right in a way Estelle hadn't experienced in years. "This is nice," she said softly. "It really is." Rowan lay back on the blanket, his hand finding hers. "I could get used to this." "Me too." June's voice carried across the park. "Arlo, watch this." They looked over. June was attempting to do a handstand. She got about halfway up before toppling over laughing. Arlo clapped. "That was so close. Your turn." "I can't do handstands." "Can you do something else cool?" Arlo thought for a moment. Then he started spinning his wheelchair in tight circles faster and faster until it looked like he was dancing. June cheered. Other kids at the park stopped to watch. "He's showing off," Estelle observed. "June brings that out in him, apparently." "Is that a bad thing?" "No, it's actually really good." They watched the kids lose themselves in play. Watched the easy friendship that had bloomed between them. "We're really doing this," Rowan said quietly. "Aren't we? This whole thing." "Looks like it." "You scared?" "Terrified." "Me too." He squeezed her hand. "But good terrified. The kind that means something matters." "Yeah," Estelle agreed, watching her son laugh with his best friend, feeling the man beside her solid and real and present. Something definitely matters. And for the first time in 5 years, she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they were going to make it. 2 months slipped by like water through fingers. What started as tentative hope solidified into routine. Estelle and Rowan saw each other almost daily, sometimes planned, often spontaneous. Rowan would text at noon saying he'd picked up lunch. Was she free? Estelle would call at 7, saying Arlo wanted to show June his new telescope lens. Could they come over? The kids were inseparable. June spent more time at Estelle's apartment than her own house. Arlo had a drawer of clothes at Rowan's place for unexpected sleepovers. They'd created their own language of inside jokes and shared dreams. Everything was perfect. Almost too perfect. Which was why Estelle should have known something would shatter it. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. Estelle was in a board meeting, her phone on silent. When she finally checked it 2 hours later, her blood went cold. 17 missed calls. 12 from Rowan. 5 from a number she didn't recognize. Her hands shook as she dialed voicemail. Rowan's voice came through tight with barely controlled panic. "Estelle, it's me. June collapsed at school. They're taking her to Children's Hospital. I'm following the ambulance. I don't know what's wrong. I don't—" His voice broke. "Please call me when you get this." The next messages were worse. His voice getting more frantic, more desperate. The final message was from the unknown number. A nurse. Professional. Calm. Devastating. "Ms. Hayes, this is Children's Hospital calling on behalf of Rowan Garrison. He asked us to contact you. His daughter Juniper has been admitted. He wanted you to know they're running tests. He's requesting you bring Arlo if possible. Juniper keeps asking for him." Estelle's vision tunneled. Her breath came short. Not June. Please, not June. She was moving before conscious thought caught up. Out of the conference room, ignoring her assistant's questions. Calling her driver, calling Arlo's school. "I'm picking up my son," she told the school secretary. "Family emergency. I'll be there in 15 minutes. She made it in 12. Arlo took one look at her face and went pale. "What happened?" "June's in the hospital. She collapsed at school." "Is she okay?" "I don't know. Rowan asked us to come." "Let's go." The drive to the hospital was silent. Estelle's hands gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles went white. Arlo sat rigid in his chair in the back, strapped in, but leaning forward like he could make the car go faster through sheer will. Children's Hospital was familiar territory. Too familiar. Estelle had spent months here after Arlo's accident. The smell of antiseptic and fear was burned into her memory. They found Rowan in the pediatric ICU waiting room. He sat, hunched forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped so tight his fingers were bloodless. When he heard the wheelchair, his head snapped up. The relief that flooded his face nearly broke Estelle. "You came," he said, hoarsely standing. "Of course we came." She went to him immediately. His arms came around her desperately. She felt him shaking. "What happened?" she asked quietly. She was at recess, playing with some kids. She just dropped. No warning. No signs. The school called 911. He pulled back, his eyes red-rimmed and wild. "They're running tests. CT scan, MRI, blood work. They think maybe the tumor came back. Or her spine. Or her heart. They don't know. Nobody knows anything." "Can we see her?" "Only family right now. But she's asking for Arlo. Keeps crying for him." His voice cracked. "The nurse said I could bring him back if it's okay." "Of course it's okay." Rowan looked down at Arlo, seeming to really see him for the first time. "Hey, buddy. Is June okay?" Arlo's voice was small, scared. "She's scared, in pain. The doctors are trying to figure out what's wrong." Rowan crouched down. "She wants to see you. Would that be okay? I know hospitals are hard for you." Arlo's jaw set with determination. "I want to see her." "It might be scary. She's got tubes and wires and machines." "I don't care. I want to see June." Rowan looked at Estelle. She nodded. "I'll wait here." "Come with us," Rowan said. "Please. I can't. I need you." The raw vulnerability in his voice made the decision easy. "Okay." A nurse led them back through secure doors. The pediatric ICU was quieter than Estelle remembered. Dimmer. Each room had glass walls so nurses could monitor constantly. June's room was third on the left. She looked impossibly small in the hospital bed. Wires ran from her chest to monitors. An IV snaked into her arm. Her face was pale, her blonde curls matted with sweat. But her eyes were open, alert. And when she saw Arlo, she started crying. "Arlo," she sobbed. "You came." "Of course I came." Arlo wheeled right up to her bedside. His hand found hers, carefully avoiding the IV. "I'm here." "I got scared. Everything went black. And then I woke up here, and Dad was crying, and the doctors keep poking me, and I thought maybe I was dying, and I'd never see you again." "You're not dying," Arlo said firmly, but his voice shook. "You're not allowed to die. We have a pact, remember space together. You can't go to space without me." June's crying slowed. "Promise. Promise. Cross my heart." He did the motion carefully. "You're going to be okay." "How do you know?" "Because you're the strongest person I know. Stronger than anyone." Estelle's throat closed. She looked at Rowan. Tears were streaming down his face silently. A doctor entered, mid-40s, kind eyes, exhausted expression. "Mr. Garrison, I have some preliminary results." Rowan's hand found Estelle's. She squeezed hard. "The good news is it's not the tumor," the doctor said. "No growth, no new masses. Her spine looks stable." The relief was visceral. Rowan's knees actually buckled slightly. Estelle held him upright. "Then what?" Rowan demanded. "What caused this?" "We're still running tests, but we think it might be her heart. She has an arrhythmia, an irregular heartbeat. It's possible the stress from her previous surgeries and medications has caused some cardiac complications." "Complications," Rowan repeated flatly. "What does that mean?" "It means we need to monitor her, possibly adjust her medications, In severe cases, she might need a pacemaker. A pacemaker! She's 7 years old. I know this is difficult. Difficult. Rowan's voice rose. My daughter collapsed at school. You're telling me her heart doesn't work right. That's not difficult. That's a nightmare. Dad, June said quietly from the bed. It's okay. It's not okay, sweetheart. But I'm alive. That's what matters, right? She looked at the doctor. Will I still be able to do stuff like wheelchair basketball and swimming? The doctor smiled gently. We'll have to see. But yes, with proper management, you should be able to continue most activities. What about space? June asked. Can I still be an astronaut? The doctor hesitated. That might be more complicated. June's face crumpled. But that's my dream. Arlo squeezed her hand. Then we'll figure it out. Maybe you can't physically go to space, but you could design spacecraft, or be mission control, or study space from Earth. There's lots of ways to be part of space exploration. But I wanted to go. I know, but sometimes dreams change. That doesn't make them less important. Estelle stared at her 11-year-old son, marveling at his wisdom, at his ability to comfort his friend even while processing his own fear. The doctor left to order more tests. A nurse came to check June's vitals. The room fell into tense silence, broken only by the beep of monitors. I need to call her grandmother, Rowan said quietly. She'll want to know. Go, Estelle said. I'll stay with them. He left reluctantly. Estelle moved to June's bedside, sitting in the chair Rowan had vacated. Hi, June, she said softly. Hi, Ms. Estelle. How are you feeling? Really? June's lip trembled. Scared and tired, and my chest hurts. That's okay. It's okay to be scared. Is my dad going to be okay? He looked really upset. He's scared too. When someone you love gets hurt, it's scary. But he'll be okay. We're all going to be okay. Do you promise? Estelle wanted to promise, wanted to guarantee that everything would work out. But she'd learned the hard way that life didn't offer guarantees. I promise we'll all be here, she said instead. Whatever happens, you're not alone. June nodded. Her eyes were drooping. The medication was kicking in. Will you stay? She whispered. Both of you. As long as they let us, Estelle assured her. June's hand tightened on Arlo's. Don't leave. I won't, Arlo said. I'm right here. June fell asleep holding his hand. Estelle and Arlo sat in silence, watching her breathe. Each rise and fall of her chest felt precious, fragile. Mom, Arlo said quietly. Yeah. Is June going to be okay? I don't know, baby. Tell me the truth. Don't protect me. Estelle looked at her son. When had he gotten so grown up? The truth is, I don't know. The doctors don't know yet. But she's getting the best care possible. She can't die. She just can't. I know. I already lost Dad. I can't lose June too. The comparison hit Estelle like a punch. Baby, your dad didn't die. He left. Same thing. Arlo's voice was hard, bitter. He abandoned us. And now June might leave too, and I can't. His voice broke. I can't handle it. Estelle moved to him quickly, wrapping her arms around him. June's not leaving. She's going to fight. And we're going to fight with her. You can't know that. No, but I believe it. And sometimes belief is all we have. Rowan returned 20 minutes later. His face was composed, but his eyes were haunted. Her grandmother's flying in tomorrow. She wanted to come tonight, but there's no flights. That's good. June will want to see her. The doctors want to keep her overnight. Maybe longer, depending on test results. He sank into the chair beside Estelle. This is my fault. No. I missed the signs. She's been more tired lately. I thought it was just growth or school stress. I didn't think... He stopped, Started again. I should have known. I should have caught it earlier. You're not a doctor, Rowan. You couldn't have known. I'm her father. I'm supposed to protect her. You are protecting her. You got her here. You're getting her help. It's not enough. It's all any of us can do. They sat in vigil as evening turned to night. Nurses came and went. Doctors checked monitors. June slept fitfully, waking every hour or so, disoriented and scared, until she saw Arlo still beside her. At midnight, a nurse gently suggested they go home, get rest, come back in the morning. Arlo refused to leave. I promised I'd stay. Buddy, you need sleep, Rowan said gently. So do you, but you're staying. I'm her father. And I'm her best friend. That matters too. Rowan looked helplessly at Estelle. She shrugged. He's not wrong. You can't sleep in a wheelchair all night. Watch me. The nurse took pity on them. There's a fold-out chair. It's not comfortable, but it works. He can stay if you want. I want, Arlo said firmly. They set up the chair next to June's bed. Arlo transferred with Estelle's help. Within minutes of lying down, exhaustion claimed him. Estelle and Rowan sat in the hallway outside June's room. The hospital at night was eerily quiet. Just the beep of distant monitors and the squeak of nurses' shoes on linoleum. Thank you for coming, Rowan said quietly. I know this is... Don't thank me. There's nowhere else I'd be. We've only been together 2 months. This is too much to ask. You didn't ask. I chose. She took his hand. That's what you do when you care about someone. You show up. You stay. Even when it's hard. My ex-wife used to say that, before she got sick. She'd say, love is showing up especially on bad days. His voice roughened. I miss her. Is that terrible to say I'm sitting here with you and I miss my dead wife? No, it's human. She's June's mother. Of course you miss her. Especially now. I keep thinking about how she'd handle this. She was always so calm, so capable. I'm falling apart, and she'd know exactly what to do. You're not falling apart. You're scared. There's a difference. Feels the same. They sat in silence. Estelle's head found his shoulder. His arm came around her. I'm really glad you're here, he whispered. Me too. Morning came with pale light through the windows. Estelle had dozed fitfully in her chair. Rowan hadn't slept at all. June woke first. Her eyes found Arlo immediately still asleep in the fold-out chair beside her. He stayed, she said wonderingly. All night, Rowan confirmed. Wouldn't leave even when the nurses tried to bribe him with pudding. He hates pudding. I know, made the bribe ineffective. June smiled, a small, tired smile, but real. I'm glad he's here. Me too, sweetheart. The doctor arrived with test results. More conclusive this time. June's heart arrhythmia was manageable with medication. No pacemaker needed yet. But she'd need regular monitoring. Possible restrictions on high-intensity activities. A completely restructured medication schedule. Can she still play wheelchair basketball? Rowan asked. With doctor supervision at practices. We'll need to monitor her heart rate, but yes, carefully she can continue. June's face lit up. Really? Really? You're a fighter, June. Your body just needs some help figuring out its rhythm. After the doctor left, June looked at her father seriously. Dad, I need to tell you something. What is it? I'm okay. I know you're scared, but I'm okay. This is just another thing we have to deal with. Like the tumor. Like the surgery. We've dealt with hard things before. Rowan's eyes filled. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just haven't been paying attention. She grinned, and Estelle recognized Arlo's words coming out of June's mouth. The kids had been learning from each other, teaching each other resilience. June was discharged 2 days later with a bag full of medications and a list of restrictions. Rowan carried her to the car, while Arlo wheeled alongside, chattering about all the movies they'd watched during her recovery. "You're stuck with me for at least a week," Arlo announced. "Doctor's orders. Well, my orders, but I'm very authoritative." "I can live with that," June said. At Rowan's house, they settled June on the couch with blankets and pillows. Arlo positioned his wheelchair right beside her. They turned on a nature documentary and promptly started arguing about animal facts. Rowan and Estelle retreated to the kitchen. "I don't know how to do this," Rowan said quietly. "How to be grateful she's alive, while terrified it could happen again." "You just do it, one day at a time. Sometimes 1 hour at a time." "What if I'm not strong enough?" "Then you lean on people who are. You let them help." She moved closer. "You let me help." He looked at her. Really looked at her. "Why are you still here? This is so much. Too much. You barely know us." "I know enough. I know June is incredible. I know Arlo loves her. I know you're a good father who's doing his best." She touched his face. "And I know I'm not going anywhere." "You should. This is only going to get more complicated." "Good thing I like complicated." "Estelle, no, listen to me. When Arlo got hurt, everyone left. My husband, my friends, everyone who promised they'd be there disappeared. I learned what it meant to be alone." Her voice strengthened. "I'm not doing that to you, to June. I'm staying." "You don't have to. I want to. That's the difference." He pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. She felt his shoulders shake. Let him cry. Held him together while he fell apart. In the living room, the kids were laughing at something on TV. The sound was bright and normal and perfect. "We're going to be okay," Estelle whispered. "All of us. Together." And holding him in his kitchen, listening to their children laugh, she almost believed it. The weeks following June's hospitalization changed everything and nothing simultaneously. The kids adapted with the resilience only children possessed. June wore a heart monitor that beeped softly under her shirt. Arlo learned to recognize the warning signs when she needed to rest. They invented quiet games for bad days, built elaborate card houses, created stories about astronauts who explored space from mission control instead of spacecraft. But the adults struggled more. Rowan became hypervigilant, checking June's monitor obsessively. Estelle caught him awake at 3 a.m. multiple times, sitting outside June's room just listening to her breathe. "You need to sleep," she told him on the 4th night she found him there. "What if something happens and I'm asleep? What if I miss it? The monitor will alarm," the doctors said. The doctors didn't predict the collapse. They missed it. His voice was flat, exhausted. "I can't miss anything else." Estelle sat beside him on the floor outside June's door. "You're going to burn out. Then you won't be any good to her." "I'll sleep when she's stable." "She is stable. For now." They sat in silence. The house was quiet, except for the soft hum of June's heart monitor through the door. "Talk to me," Estelle said quietly. "Really talk. Not the brave face you put on for June." Rowan exhaled slowly. "I'm terrified. Every single second. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the call from school, for her to collapse again. I can't breathe properly anymore." That's trauma response. After Arlo's accident, I didn't sleep for months. Every time my phone rang, I had a panic attack. "How did you get through it?" "Therapy, medication, time, accepting that I couldn't control everything." She touched his hand. "And eventually letting people help." "I don't know how to do that. Let people help." "You start by going to bed, by trusting that I'll sit here and listen for the monitor, by accepting that you don't have to do this alone." He looked at her. Really looked. His eyes were bloodshot, his face drawn. "You'd do that, sit here." "I'd do more than that. I'd do anything." Something in his expression cracked. "Why?" "Because I love you." The words hung in the air between them. Estelle's heart hammered. She hadn't meant to say it. Not yet. Not like this. But it was true, and she was tired of pretending otherwise. Rowan stared at her. What? I love you. I love June. I love this whole complicated, beautiful mess we've created. Her voice strengthened. And I know it's fast, and maybe too soon, and we're in the middle of a crisis, but I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of holding back. So there it is. I love you. Rowan's eyes filled with tears. I love you too. God, I love you so much it terrifies me. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I don't know anymore. Both maybe. She kissed him, soft and gentle and full of promise. When they pulled apart, he was smiling through tears. Go to bed, she said. I've got this. You're sure? I'm sure. He stood reluctantly, looked at June's door one more time, then at Estelle. Thank you. Stop thanking me. This is what love looks like. He kissed her forehead and disappeared into his room. Estelle settled against the wall, phone in hand, ears attuned to the soft beep of June's monitor. She must have dozed because suddenly Arlo was wheeling down the hallway, rubbing his eyes. Mom, what are you doing on the floor? Keeping watch. What are you doing up? Bathroom. Then I heard voices. He wheeled closer. Did something happen? No, everyone's fine. Rowan needed sleep. So you're taking his shift? Something like that. Arlo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You really love him, don't you? Yeah, I really do. Good. He loves you too. Says so when you're not around. Told June you make him want to believe in good things again. Estelle's throat tightened. He said that last week. June told me. We talk about you guys sometimes, about whether you'll get married. Do you now? June thinks yes. I'm more cautious, but hopeful. He grinned. You're less weird when he's around. Happier. I'm not weird. You're super weird, Mom. It's one of your best qualities. She threw a pillow at him. He caught it laughing, then wheeled back to his room. Estelle sat alone in the quiet house, listening to hearts beat through walls, and let herself imagine futures she'd stopped believing in. The next morning brought unexpected visitors. June's grandmother arrived from Florida. Margaret was in her 70s, sharp-eyed and efficient. She took one look at Rowan's exhausted face and immediately took charge. You look terrible, she announced. When did you last eat a real meal? Yesterday. Maybe. Unacceptable. You can't take care of June if you're falling apart. She turned to Estelle. You must be the famous Estelle. June talks about you constantly. And Arlo. That's me. Nice to meet you. Margaret studied her with unnerving intensity. You're good for him. He looks less haunted than usual. Still haunted, but less. Grandma, Rowan protested. What? It's true. You've been a ghost since Sarah died. At least now you're a ghost with color in your cheeks. Estelle liked her immediately. Margaret stayed for 2 weeks. She cooked actual meals, enforced sleep schedules, took over June's medical management with military precision. She also cornered Estelle one afternoon while the kids napped and Rowan was at a work meeting. So, Margaret said, pouring tea with the authority of someone who expected honest answers. What are your intentions with my grandson? My intentions? Don't play coy. You're clearly in love. The question is whether you're planning to stay or if this is temporary. Estelle met her eyes directly. I'm staying. As long as Rowan and June want me here. Even with June's medical complications. Especially with them. Why you have your own child with significant needs? Why take on more? Because I love them. Because Arlo loves June. Because we've built something here that's worth fighting for. Estelle set down her teacup. I know what it's like to do this alone. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Margaret's expression softened. Sarah would have liked you. She always said Rowan needed someone strong. Someone who wouldn't run when things got hard. I'm not running. Good. Because that man has been through enough. If you're going to leave, do it now before June gets more attached. I'm not leaving. Then you should know what you're signing up for. June's condition is manageable now, but it could deteriorate. There could be more surgeries, more emergencies, more nights wondering if she'll wake up. Margaret's voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. Loving a sick child is the hardest thing you'll ever do, and she's not even your child. She could be, though, if Rowan and I— Estelle stopped. I mean, hypothetically. Hypothetically. Margaret smiled. Or actually, I've seen the way you look at her. Like she already belongs to you. Is that wrong? No, it's exactly right. Margaret squeezed her hand. Welcome to the family, Estelle, officially or not. That evening, Rowan proposed going out. Just the two of them. Margaret insisted on watching both kids. Go, she commanded. Be adults. Remember what that feels like. They ended up at the same park where they'd had their picnic months ago. The sun was setting, painting everything gold. Your grandmother is terrifying, Estelle said. She likes you, though. That's rare. How can you tell? She didn't threaten you. That's her version of approval. He smiled. She cornered me this morning. Said if I didn't marry you, she'd adopt you herself and make me call you aunt. Estelle laughed. She did not. She absolutely did. She's not subtle. They walked in comfortable silence. Well, Estelle walked. Rowan's hand found hers. Can I ask you something? He said after a while. Always. That night at the hospital, you said you loved me. I remember. Did you mean it? Or was it just the stress talking? She stopped walking, turned to face him. I meant it, every word. I love you, Rowan Garrison. I love your terrible cooking and your dad jokes and the way you love June with your whole heart. I love how you see Arlo as a person instead of a disability. I love that you showed up in my life and refused to be scared away. His eyes were bright. I love you too. I have for weeks, but I was too scared to say it. Thought it was too fast, too much. Is there such a thing as too much love? Probably not. He pulled her closer. Margaret's right, though, about what you're signing up for. June's condition could get worse. There could be years of this, of hospitals and fear and uncertainty. I know. And you're still here. I'm still here. Why? Because love isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about choosing someone even when things are hard, especially when things are hard. She touched his face. You chose me and Arlo with all our complications. I'm choosing you and June with all of yours. He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of everything words couldn't hold. When they pulled apart, he said, I want you to move in with us. Estelle blinked. What? Move in. You and Arlo, make it official. We're already together constantly anyway. The kids are practically siblings. It makes sense. That's a big step. I know. But I'm tired of half measures. I'm tired of pretending this is casual when it's the most important thing in my life. His voice was steady now. Sure. I want to wake up with you. I want to navigate June's medical stuff together. I want Arlo to have his own room in our house. I want us to be a family, a real one. Estelle's heart was racing. The kids will be thrilled. You know they will. My job. We'll figure it out. We figure everything else out. Rowan. You don't have to answer now. Think about it. Talk to Arlo, but know that I'm serious. I want this. I want you. I want all of it. She kissed him again. Yes. 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 We'll move in. Arlo and I. We'll figure it out together. His face transformed with joy. He picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing like teenagers. Really? He asked when he set her down. You're sure? I'm terrified, but I'm sure. Good terrified. The best terrified. They told the kids the next morning. Arlo and June were eating breakfast when Rowan cleared his throat. So, we have some news. Both kids looked up instantly alert. Estelle and Arlo are going to move in with us, Rowan announced. There was a beat of silence. Then June screamed. Actually screamed with joy. She launched herself at Arlo, nearly knocking him out of his wheelchair with a hug. "We're going to be a family," she shouted. "A real family." "We were already a family," Arlo said, but he was grinning. "But yeah, this makes it official." "Can I help decorate your room?" June demanded. "Can we put glow in the dark stars on the ceiling? And can we get bunk beds, except not bunk beds, because wheelchairs, but like connected rooms with a door between them?" "One thing at a time," Rowan said, but he was smiling. Margaret watched from the doorway, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. "About time," she muttered. "I was starting to think you'd never ask her." The move happened quickly. Estelle gave notice at her apartment. Rowan converted his home office into a bedroom for Arlo, complete with wider doorways and accessible features. June helped pick out paint colors and decorations. 2 months later, they were officially moved in. The house was chaos. Boxes everywhere. Furniture in wrong rooms. 2 kids arguing about whose telescope got the better window position. But it felt like home. Estelle stood in the kitchen watching Rowan attempt to cook dinner, while June and Arlo provided unwanted commentary from the table. "Dad, that's too much salt," June said. "It's fine." "It's really not," Arlo agreed. "Mom, you should take over before he poisons us." "I'm not going to poison you. The chicken's smoking." "That's just steam." "That's definitely smoke." Estelle laughed and took over cooking duties. Rowan surrendered with good grace, moving to help set the table instead. This was her life now. Beautiful chaos, medical appointments, and wheelchair races, and kids arguing over constellation facts. A man who loved her enough to stay. A daughter who wasn't biologically hers, but felt like it anyway. That night, after the kids were asleep, and the house was finally quiet, Rowan found Estelle on the back porch. "Hey," he said softly, sitting beside her. "Hey, yourself." "Happy." "Terrified." "But yeah, really happy." "Good terrified." She smiled. "The best kind." He pulled out a small box from his pocket. Estelle's breath caught. "I know we just moved in together. I know it's fast. But I also know I want to spend the rest of my life with you." He opened the box. A simple ring caught the porch light. "Marry me, Estelle. Make this permanent. Make us forever." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You're supposed to wait at least 6 months after moving in." "I'm terrible at following timelines." "Yes. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to forever. Yes to all of it." He slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. They sat together under the stars, planning futures they'd stopped believing in, talking about weddings and logistics and how to tell the kids. The back door opened. June and Arlo peered out. "Were you guys spying?" Rowan demanded. "Obviously," Arlo said. "Did she say yes?" "She said yes." Both kids erupted in cheers. They piled onto the porch, everyone talking over each other about wedding plans and whether they could release butterflies, or if that was cliché. Estelle looked at her family. This beautiful, complicated, perfectly imperfect family they'd built from broken pieces. Rowan caught her eye, mouthed, "I love you." She mouthed it back. 6 months later, they got married in the same park where Rowan had first proposed moving in together. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. June and Arlo stood beside them as joint maid of honor and best man. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Arlo raised his hand. Everyone froze. "I object to the lack of snacks at this wedding," he announced solemnly. Otherwise, proceed. The crowd erupted in laughter. June high-fived him. Rowan and Estelle exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Promised to show up, to stay, to love through hard things, to build a life where disability wasn't tragedy and broken families could heal. When they kissed, June and Arlo cheered louder than anyone. At the reception held in someone's backyard, with string lights and a taco truck, because some traditions were worth keeping. June pulled Estelle aside. "Thank you," June said quietly. "For what, sweetheart? For not leaving. For staying even when I got sick. For loving Dad. For loving me." Her voice wobbled. "My mom died, and I thought maybe that was it. That we'd never be a whole family again. But you made us whole." Estelle crouched down, not caring about her dress. "You made me whole too. You and Arlo. You taught him it was okay to be himself. You gave him a friend who understood. You gave me hope that love could work again. So we saved each other. I think we did." June hugged her tight. "I'm glad you brought Arlo to that cafe, even though Dad was weird about it." "Me too, baby. Me too." Later, Estelle danced with Rowan under the stars. The same stars they'd first looked at together months ago. The same stars June and Arlo had made plans to reach. "No regrets?" Rowan asked. "Not a single one. Just that I didn't ask you to move in sooner. We took the time we needed." "Yeah, we did." He pulled her closer. "I love you, Mrs. Garrison." "I love you too." From across the yard, June called out, "Arlo, watch this." She attempted a wheelchair spin that ended with her nearly crashing into the dessert table. Arlo rushed to help, both of them dissolving into laughter. "Our kids are disasters," Rowan observed. "Our beautiful, perfect disasters." "Think they'll actually make it to space someday?" "June as mission control. Arlo as spacecraft engineer. I'd bet on it. Even with all their medical stuff. Especially because of it. They know how to fight, how to adapt, how to dream bigger than their circumstances." He kissed her forehead. "You're really good at this hope thing." "I learned from the best." A man who showed up to a blind date and said exactly the wrong thing in exactly the right way. Best worst opening line in history. Absolutely. They danced until their feet hurt, ate tacos until they were stuffed, watched their kids make plans to conquer the universe. And when the night ended and they drove home together, all four of them crammed in Rowan's truck with wheelchairs in the bed and happiness in the air, Estelle finally understood what home meant. It wasn't a place. It wasn't perfect circumstances. It wasn't the absence of struggle. Home was showing up, was choosing love even when it was scary, was building family from people who understood that broken didn't mean less than. Home was a cafe in Denver where a question that should have ended everything instead started it all. Home was two kids who taught adults how to be brave. Home was a man who looked at her son's wheelchair and saw possibility instead of limitation. Home was here. Now. This moment. "Mom," Arlo said sleepily from the back seat. "Today was perfect." "Yeah, baby, it really was." June was already asleep, her head on Arlo's shoulder. Both of them exhausted and happy, and exactly where they belonged. Rowan's hand found Estelle's across the console. She laced their fingers together. "Forever," he said quietly. "Forever." She agreed. And driving through Denver's streets with her whole heart sitting in a truck, Estelle Hayes Garrison knew she'd finally found what she'd been searching for all along. Not perfection, not easy, just love. Real, messy, complicated, beautiful love. And that was everything.